I hope you're ready to watch a good turtle boy absolutely dominate Pokemon Platinum. All of my challenge videos so far have been in Pokemon Fire Red and Leaf Green. However, I offered my Discord server the option to vote on the next challenge. As you can see, there was a three-way tie, so I did the only reasonable thing I could do. I rolled for a tiebreaker. And so, here we are in Pokemon Platinum with Turtwig. To my knowledge, this is going to be the first ever solo run with Turtwig through Pokemon Platinum on YouTube, so I'm super excited to see how Turtwig does in this challenge. Let's get this run started with the rules reading. Rule number 1, no glitches, hacks, or cheats. I do, however, use speed up, otherwise these videos would take far longer to produce and I'd rather produce them quickly. Rule number 2, I can only use one Pokemon in battle. However, because I am not cheating, I do need to use HM Pokemon for travel purposes only. And lastly, rule number 3, no items in battle. This does not include held items as I use Everstones during some runs, and so other held items are also allowed if necessary. With all of that out of the way, let's begin. Starting things off with our first rival battle, we very easily take down Barry. His Chimchar must be afraid of us or something, since all it does is leer at us the entire battle while we tackle it repeatedly. Eventually, Chimchar faints and Turtwig's rampage across the land has officially begun. Our Turtwig thankfully has an adamant nature, although perhaps Jolly would have been better in hindsight. After some messing around in Jubilife and some pseudo-EV training, it would seem that Barry still hasn't learned his lesson and challenges us to another fight. He leads with Starly, who we tackle while it growls, lowering our attack. We take out Starly with another hit, prompting a random monkey event. The Fire Monkey is then unleashed, but the Simian Rage is oddly contained, opting to leer at us for the entire fight. The apish antics die down as Chimchar faints, and we prove to Barry once again that enjoying nature is far more socially acceptable than being a pyromaniac. Moving out to Rourke, this fight is very straightforward. We send Geodude to the next dimension with Razor Leaf. Next up is Onyx, who we also turn into an unconscious pile of rocks. Lastly is Cranidos, who summarily doesn't feel so good as we politely remind it to get enough sleep. With the defeat of Rourke, we earn the Coal Badge and secure our first milestone on Turtwig's journey to dominance. We head on over to the Valley Windworks to take on Mars next. I was slightly worried about Mars since her Purugly has been a problem for me in the past, but Turtwig is just too cute to lose. Mars leads with Zubat, who we bite hoping for a flinch. We don't get it, instead getting bit in return by Zubat. One turn later and another Turtle Chomp takes down the Zubat. Purugly is up next, who opens with Fake Out, flinching us. Then Purugly lands a scratch before we pull out the hunting license I just made up 5 seconds ago and score a crit Razor Leaf, knocking out Purugly immediately. Surprisingly, Gardenia was a bit of a challenge. We had nothing that could get through her Pokemon easily, so we had to grind for a bit. Gardenia leads with the Imposter from Among Us, who we bite while it uses Sunny Day. On the next turn, we bite of 87 her Turtwig, knocking it out. Roserade is up next, who channels the full might of the Speed Force to outspeed us and hit us with Poison Sting, but we respond by channeling the full might of a starving Snorlax let loose in a buffet. Sadly, our incredible power is invalidated by Roserade devouring a citrus berry. Roserade uses Magical Leaf the next turn, but we keep munching, gradually whittling Roserade down. Roserade again uses Magical Leaf, but we bite once more to take it down. Cherim is last up, and fortunately the sunlight fades just before it's sent out. Cherim still outspeeds us with Magical Leaf, so we munch in return. Next turn, Magical Leaf crits against us, but we do significant damage with Bite. Gardenia then Super Potions while we bite again. Next turn, Cherim safeguards, but we just keep chomping. The turn after, Cherim uses Magical Leaf for a third time, almost taking us out, but we land the last attack, knocking Cherim out and earning the Forest Badge. After taking out Gardenia, we continue our rampage across the land by setting our sights on Jupiter. We once again had to grind a bit to deal Skuntank, but a small price to pay for our continued conquest. Jupiter leads with Zubat, who we one-shot with Bite. Then the loathsome Stink Eater comes out next, who outspeeds us with Night Slash before we strike back with Bite. Skuntank then tries to use Poison Gas against us, but it misses and we hit with Razor Leaf. Skuntank then uses Night Slash and we answer with Razor Leaf, proccing Skuntank's Citrus Berry. We then trade Night Slash and Razor Leaf again, but on the following turn, Skuntank uses Smokescreen while we once again land Razor Leaf, the crit gods blessing us with a knockout. After handling Jupiter, we grab our bike and head to the Wayward Cave to grab a very useful TM, Double Team. From here, we head directly to Fantina, eager to earn another badge for glory. Fantina leads with Duskull, who we outspeed with Crunch for the knockout. Miss Magius is up next, who outspeeds us with Shadow Ball, but we quickly respond with a Crunch, taking it down. Haunter is last up, who we outspeed and absolutely crush, swiftly earning ourselves another trophy and the Relic Badge. For our third rival fight, it is at this point that we teach Turtwig one of his most useful skills, Double Team. Barry leads with Staravia, who instantly lowers our attack with Intimidate. For the next few turns, we both use Double Team several times, and after maxing out our evasive stat, we start using Bite, looking for flinches. After a few bites, we take down Staravia with ease. Up next is Monkey 2, not Electric Boogaloo, who we bite immediately while Monferno continues his time-honored tradition of just staring at us disapprovingly. We continue landing Bite while Monferno tries in vain to land anything, and after a few more bites, Monferno falls. Roselia is up next, who also quickly falls to our Bite spam. Last up is Buizel, who again quickly falls to our Gigachomp. We reach Veilstone and visit with the clown, who gives us the coin case for solving his riddle about society. After obtaining the coin case, we head over to the game corner and begin purchasing V-Bucks so that we don't have to waste our time with games. After spending 80,000 on Bobucks, we head over to the prize redemption counter and purchase Sword Stance. After spending all of our money and having nothing left to lose, we move on to fight Maylene. Maylene leads with Metatite, who meta-smites my patience by using a fake out against us. On the next turn, we begin our Double Team and Sword Stance combo. After setting up our stats, we take out Metatite, blowing leaves at it. Lucario is up next, who outspeeds us and lands a Force Palm, taking our health bar lower than the chances of Game Freak bringing back Mega Evolution in any meaningful capacity. However, we answer with the super strong Razor Leaf, knocking it out immediately. Last up is Machoke, who we also take out instantly, gaining yet more proof of Turtwig's majesty in the form of the Cobble Badge. We move on to Pastoria City to claim our next gym badge, but first Barry must remind us that he has a deep-seated need for pain and stops us right before we enter the gym. Barry leads with his Staravia, who lowers our attack on entry with Intimidate. We set up on Staravia, both of us using Double Team for a while, and then we begin stacking Sword Stance while Staravia misses all of its attacks. Finally, we go for bite attempts and manage to land one, taking Staravia down with one attack. Monferno is up next, who we just barely don't knock out with Bite. After what seemed like months of leering at us, it finally manages to unleash its rage by throwing a die-cast Hot Wheel at us, lowering our HP by a ton. However, we land a Razor Leaf and take it down. Roselia is up next, who we Razor Leaf and take out instantly, and last up is Buizel, who we make faint by giving it a paper cut, giving Barry the crushing defeat he keeps coming back for. After we take out Barry, we take on Crasher Wake. Wake leads with Gyarados, who again lowers our attack on entry. We take our time and set up on Gyarados just like we did with Staravia in the previous fight, not wanting to take any chances. Finally, we're ready to fight and we land a Razor Leaf, one-shotting the Gyarados. Next up is Floatzel, who we also take down with the power of photosynthesis. And last up is Quagsire, who we absolutely obliterate with another Razor Leaf, earning ourselves the Fen badge. Very easy gym due to our type advantage. After beating up Crasher Wake with a bunch of leaves, we quickly see why Barry is the best rival before making our way to Celestic Town to learn about the legends of the past. Cyrus soon joins us, seemingly a bit of a bookworm himself. He challenges us to a battle and we begin. He leads with Sneasel, who screeches us to lower our defense by a significant amount. We start setting up our double teams, knowing that if Sneasel hits Ice Punch, it could all be over. Sneasel continues to screech at us, lowering our defense even more as we heighten our evasiveness. It misses Ice Punch as we start setting up Sword Stance, and then it misses again as we go for another Sword Stance. It misses one last time, and on this turn we take it down with a singular Razor Leaf. Next up is Golbat, who we bite for the one-shot, and last up is Murkrow, who we bite for considerable damage. On the next turn, we swiftly take it out. Gotta say, Sneasel was a roadblock for a very long time, and I'm very surprised at how long it took us to get past it. After fighting Cyrus, we head to Conolave City, where we fight Barry again. Barry's Staravia has evolved into a Staraptor, but it still has Intimidate to lower our attack on entry. Both Staraptor and ourselves set up with double teams and sword stances, but this time Staraptor has Aerial Ace, which bypasses our evasive stats. We then begin trying to bite, intending to take it out before it lands more Aerial Ace. A single bite takes it down easily. Next up is Heracross, who we also bite for about half while it misses Night Slash. We bite again on the next turn for the knockout. Super Monkey 3 arrives as Infernate, pelting us with more die-cast Hot Wheels, doing significant damage, but we hit it with Razor Leaf and take it down easily. Next up is Roserade, who we bite for the one-shot, and last up is Floatzel, who outspeeds and lands Swift, but fails to do enough damage while we knock it out instantly with a Razor Leaf. We spent a lot of time grinding at Iron Island to prepare for this fight with Byron, and I'm glad that we did. Byron leads with Magneton, who we set up on. It's not able to do much to us, so when we're finally ready, we take it out very easily with a single Razor Leaf. Next up is Steelix, who we also one-shot with Razor Leaf, and last up is Bastiodon, who is knocked out by a leaf I found on the ground 3 seconds ago. Easy fight, GG, thanks for the Mind Badge, Byron. After dealing with Byron, we have a quick meeting with Professor Rowan, and then Team Galactic blows up a lake, so we've got to go deal with that. Our fight with Saturn is pretty straightforward. Saturn leads with Golbat, who we don't bother to set up double teams on. We use Sword Stance and take it down with a single bite. Next up is Toxicroak, who we also one-shot with a single Razor Leaf crit. And last up is Bronzor, who actually tanks a Razor Leaf before being taken down in the next turn. With Saturn spanked, we head over to our next fight with Mars, who is still salty after we beat her at the Windworks. She leads with a Golbat, which we again don't bother to use double team against. However, Golbat does land Supersonic, which may prove dangerous if we hit ourselves with boosted attack. Thankfully, we don't hit ourselves at all, and since we managed to boost ourselves all the way up, a single bite takes down Golbat. Next up is Bronzor, who we chomp for the one-shot, and last up is Perugly, who we knock out instantly with a Razor Leaf. With Saturn and Mars both handled, we head up to Snow Point to take on Candace. Sadly, she leads with another Sneasel, which proved to be a problem for a while. Sneasel outspeeds us with Ice Shard, but we go for a double team, which causes the next Ice Shard to miss. We then use Razor Leaf without buffs and manage to one-shot the Sneasel anyways. Frostlass is up next, who outspeeds us and uses double team, but we land a bite anyways and one-shot Frostlass as well. Pillow is up next, who pigs out and gets indigestion from the fresh Razor Leaf we just fed it. And last up is Abomasnow, who we bite for about half, but also get a flinch. On the next turn, we go for another bite, and the Abomasnow ironically cannot hold focus long enough to land a Focus Blast. Before we can land the next attack, Candace uses a full restore, but we land another bite for half. And on the next turn, the universe grants us plot armor and supercharges our bite with weapons-grade crit energy, taking down Abomasnow and earning ourselves the Icicle Badge. We then head back to Veilstone and listen to Cyrus give an amazing speech about... Wow, what an inspiring speech! After such an amazing speech, we should definitely show him how inspired he made us to beat him into the floor. Cyrus leads with Sneasel again, much to my dismay, and again, Sneasel was quite difficult to handle. Sneasel lands an Ice Punch despite our double team, but we use another on the next turn, causing Sneasel to miss. Fortunately, Sneasel only hits Ice Punch one more time before we Razor Leaf to take it down. Crobat is up next, who manages to hit us with Air Cutter, but we knock it out with a single bite. Last up is Honchkrow, who also goes down to a single bite. Sneasels are OP against Turtwig, it is so sad. After Cyrus is defeated, he gives us permission to free the Lake Legendaries, but Saturn wants to be a hero for Team Galactic and stands in our way. He leads with Golbat, who we bite twice for the knockout. Next up is Toxicroak, who we bite hoping for a flinch, but sadly do not get. On the next turn, we bite again, still hoping for a flinch, and once again, do not get. Finally, we take it down with a bite crit, which I'll take over a flinch in this case. Bronzor is up next, who we bite for a good chunk before it hits us with Gyro Ball, and on the next turn we take it out. We then actually have a double battle against Mars and Jupiter with Barry. Mars and Jupiter both lead with Bronzor, who set up a light screen and reflect. We opt to ignore our evasive stats this time around, going for full Sword Stance boosts. After a few turns, we're at max attack. Despite holding the almighty power of Zeus and channeling it into a single Razor Leaf, we end up missing Jupiter's Bronzor and only take out Mars's. Mars then sends out Golbat, who we one-shot instantly, while Jupiter's Bronzor surprisingly tanks a Razor Leaf. Mars's last Pokemon is Perugly, who you would think would be traumatized by my Turtwig at this point. One Razor Leaf takes out both Jupiter's Bronzor and Mars' Brugly. Jupiter then sends out Skuntank, who we bite for the one-shot, and Jupiter's last Pokemon is her Golbat, who gets unceremoniously wiped off the face of the planet using a Lettuce Leaf my Turtwig coughed out like a hairball. After that double battle and a bit of fooling around in the Distortion world, Cyrus challenges us to another battle. Fortunately for us, he doesn't lead with his Sneasel anymore, he leads with his Houndoom, who is a challenge in its own right, but not nearly as annoying as Sneasel. We set up all of our double teams in Swords Dance, hoping that Houndoom won't land Will-O-Wisp, and fortunately we get through our buff phase without getting burned. Houndoom does land a Flamethrower on us for about half, but shortly after we're finally ready to fight back, and we knock it out with a single bite. Next up is Crobat, who just like Houndoom is blown away by our bite strength. Honchkrow is up after Crobat, who again immediately falls to our bite. After Honchkrow, Weavile is sent out, who fakes us out with a flinch, but misses Night Slash on the next turn while we knock it out with Bite. And last up is Gyarados, who lowers our attack with Intimidate, but we just decide to buff again while it misses an Ice Fang. A single bite on the next turn manages to take down the Gyarados, taking down Cyrus once and for all. We quickly catch Giratina with the Master Ball and then head over to Sunyshore to grab our final gym badge. Volkner is just like me and is suffering from the Supreme Extreme Espresso Depresso, so we gotta cheer him up with a thrilling battle. Volkner leads with Jolteon, who we almost set up on without any issues, and knock out with the Razor Leaf. Raichu is up next, and we also take it down with a single Razor Leaf. Luxray is sent out next, who we also one-shot with Razor Leaf. And last up is Electivire, who also is one-shot by Razor Leaf, earning us the Beacon Badge. Leaves are really strong, as it turns out. Be careful this fall, everyone. We head all the way to the Pokemon League, and just before entering to challenge the Elite Four, Barry shows up and challenges us to a fight. Barry still leads with Staraptor, but this time we don't have the option of stacking our double teams, as Staraptor will always use Aerial Ace. We use Swords Dance 3 times and then take down Staraptor with a single bite crit. Heracross is up next, but it too knows Aerial Ace, so we take no chances and knock it out with another bite. Infernape is up next, which we bite hoping for a flinch, but surprisingly we're able to take it out. Roserade is up next, who also falls to a single bite. Floatzel is then sent out, which falls to a single Razor Leaf, and last up is Snorlax, who I'm pretty afraid of, but thankfully we're still able to take it down with a single Razor Leaf. We're about to head into the Elite Four and we're cutting rival fights this close? I am so nervous. So, out of all of the 5 remaining opponents, there are only 2 that I'm really worried about, and the first Elite Four member is one of them. Aaron is a Bug-type user, which is super effective against our poor Turtwig. Nevertheless, we'll prevail with effort. Aaron leads with the Yanmega, which we actually outspeed on the first turn and use Double Team while it does the same. The 2 of us spend a few turns using Double Team, with the Yanmega getting Speed Boost stat increases as well. Eventually, Yanmega manages to land a Bug Buzz, which does almost half. That would be the last time it hits us though, as we finish boosting and then engage in a misfight that lasts for several turns until we finally land our bite. Vespiquen is up next, who falls to bite. After Vespiquen is Scizor, who is also easily knocked out by bite. Heracross is after Scizor, who is, yet again, another one-shot with bite. And last up is Drapion, who actually resists our bite and hits us with an Aerial Ace. On the turn after that, though, we take it out with another bite. Bertha is our second opponent of the Elite Four, and I'm expecting her to be an absolute pushover due to our type advantage. Bertha leads with Whiscash, and we don't bother setting up our double teams since this should be a very easy fight. We use Swords Dance 3 times and then Razor Leaf, one-shotting Whiscash. The next Pokemon is Gliscor, who I was worried might be a problem since it's half Flying type, but we take it out with 1 Razor Leaf without a problem. Golem is up next, who also falls to a single Razor Leaf. After Golem is Rhyperior, who is yet again absolutely demolished by our fast-moving leaves. And lastly is Hippowdon, who was one-shot easily as well. After 2 somewhat easy fights, now we have to fight Flint, who took us a very long time to get through. Houndoom is the lead, and sadly, our only option to win this fight is to double team 3 times and Swords Dance 3 times, otherwise we run the risk of getting hit. We take out Houndoom with a single bite, and next up is Flareon, who we also one-shot with bite. Rapidash is up next, who we also one-shot. Magmortar is up next after that, who also falls to a single bite. And lastly is Infernape, who outspeeds us and tries to hit Flare Blitz but misses. We land our bite and almost knock it out, but sadly Flint uses a full restore on the next turn. However, we then get a high roll bite and take it out with one shot without a crit. Lucian is up next, and while we don't have a type advantage, we do have a few things going for us. Lucian can't really hurt us all that badly, and we do have Bite, so I'm not too worried. Mr. Mime is the first Pokemon sent out, and I accidentally Razor Leaf, taking it down in one shot. Espeon is next, who uses Signal Beam, but we Bite and knock it out. The next Pokemon is Bronzong, and for this opponent we decide to Swords Dance for the extra attack stats. We stack our Swords Dance while Bronzong uses Calm Mind and hits us with Psychic, doing considerable damage. However, our Empowered Bite takes it down without a problem. Alakazam is up next, who surprisingly outspeeds us and lands another Psychic that almost knocks us out, but we Bite for the one-shot. And last up is Gallade, who thankfully doesn't outspeed us and we Bite for the one-shot. Easy! Our last opponent of the run is Cynthia, who is well known for being difficult. She leads with Spiritomb, but unfortunately for her, she doesn't really have anything that can hurt us too badly, so long as she doesn't get Silverwind buffs. We set up on Spiritomb, who gets us quite low on HP, but fortunately we're able to fully stack up and hit Razor Leaf, taking it down easily. Next up is Togekiss, who instead of kissing, we Bite viciously and take out easily. Roserade is up next, who we also Gigamunch and knock out without a problem. Garchomp is up next, who actually outspeeds us and tries to land a Flamethrower, but misses while we land a Razor Leaf, one-shotting it. Milotic is up next, who we also one-shot with Razor Leaf. And last up is Lucario, who we take down by stealing all of the leafy greens from a Whole Food store and throwing them with the power of 1,000 angry turtles at the poor bipedal doggo, taking down Cynthia and becoming champion of the Sinnoh League. This was a breath of fresh air after several Fire Red and Leaf Green challenges. I love Platinum, and I haven't gotten to play it within the past few years. When I first played through Sinnoh, my starter was Turtwig, so this was an excellent way to return. I was surprised at how hard Sneasel of all Pokemon was able to roadblock us, and I was even more surprised at how Bite and Razor Leaf were able to handle just about anything that was thrown at us. I also really liked how the Elite Four in this run were too hard and too easy. That was pretty unique so far among all of my various runs. This run was also surprisingly fast, my fastest run ever, with the final time of 22 hours exactly, which was very, very cool. Once again, as far as I know, this is the only Pokemon Platinum Turtwig only solo run on YouTube, so I am very, very proud of how this run turned out. Anyways, I stream this run over on Twitch, which I plan on doing weekly. Also, if you liked this video, please feel free to leave a like and subscribe, as it would help me out a lot. If you're interested in coming and hanging out, please feel free to follow the link below to either my Twitch, my Twitter, or my Discord. This has been Shro, and thank you for watching.